Guys, tonight we wake up in a tiny medieval village where everyone knows your name. But unfortunately, they usually shout it only when someone is bleeding, coughing, or convinced they've been cursed by a goose. You are the village doctor, one of the busiest people for miles around, armed with a leather satchel, a handful of herbs, and far more confidence than actual medical knowledge. The good news is that people trust you. The bad news is that if you accidentally confuse one plant with another, you probably won't survive this, at least not your reputation. Luckily, this is a calm history story, so the worst thing you'll have to worry about tonight is how surprisingly exhausting everyday life used to be. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And while you're settling in, let me know your location and your local time in the comments. It's always fascinating to see where in the world we're sharing these quiet journeys together. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The first sound you notice is not an alarm clock. It is a rooster, not just one rooster either. Several of them seem to have entered into an enthusiastic competition to determine who can greet the sunrise with the greatest amount of confidence. Their calls drift through the cool morning mist, mixing with distant sheep, sleepy cattle, and the faint creak of wooden wagon wheels beginning another day. You slowly open your eyes. Above you stretches a low wooden ceiling darkened by years of smoke from the fireplace below. Tiny cracks between the beams allow narrow lines of pale dawn to slip inside. Your bed feels surprisingly firm. That is a polite way of saying it feels like sleeping on several determined pieces of wood, politely disguised beneath a thin mattress stuffed with straw. Modern memory briefly reminds you that mattresses can actually be soft. That thought disappears as cold air brushes your face. There is no central heating, no electric blanket, no warm shower waiting in another room. Only the smell of burning oak, drying herbs, and yesterday's bread. You sit up slowly, wrapping a rough wool blanket around your shoulders before placing bare feet onto the chilly wooden floor. Instant regret. The floor seems personally offended that your feet dared to touch it. Outside your tiny window, the village is already waking. Thin streams of smoke rise from stone chimneys. Women carry buckets toward the village well. Children chase chickens while pretending they are heroic knights. A blacksmith has already begun striking glowing iron, each hammer blow echoing across the valley. The entire settlement contains perhaps 200 people. Everyone knows everyone. Everyone also knows you. That is both comforting and exhausting. Being the village doctor means your day rarely belongs entirely to you. Someone always develops a fever. Someone always cuts a hand with an axe. Someone always believes eating suspicious mushrooms was an excellent idea. You dress layer by layer: a linen shirt, wool tunic, leather belt, heavy cloak folded across one shoulder in case morning rain appears. Everything feels handmade. Nothing matches perfectly. Every stitch tells a story of patient hands working by candlelight. On a nearby shelf waits your most valuable possession. Not gold, not jewels. A simple leather satchel. Inside rests your entire medical world. Bundles of dried rosemary, sage, yarrow, chamomile flowers tied with thin string. A small jar of honey. Several strips of clean linen. A wooden spoon, mortar and pestle, needles, thread. A tiny knife, carefully sharpened yesterday evening. Looking at these humble tools, it becomes almost unbelievable that people trust them with their lives. Yet they do. Because they have little else. You quietly whisper thanks that no one has invented hospital paperwork. Even in the Middle Ages, that might somehow have found a way to exist. The fireplace downstairs still glows with gentle orange embers. You kneel beside it, adding another log before hanging a small iron pot above the flames. Water begins warming. Breakfast is wonderfully uncomplicated. A piece of coarse bread, soft cheese, perhaps an apple if the season has been generous. You chew slowly while watching sunlight spread across the village green. Everything moves with the rhythm of daylight. Nobody checks watches. Nobody rushes because of phone notifications. Time belongs to bells, sunrise, shadows, and seasons. The church bell rings once. Its deep voice rolls over the fields like distant thunder. Farmers shoulder wooden tools before disappearing into strips of cultivated land beyond the cottages. The baker opens his oven. Warm bread perfumes the morning air. Somewhere nearby, a dog barks enthusiastically at absolutely nothing. Certain traditions clearly survive every century. You finish breakfast, wipe crumbs from your tunic, and sling the leather satchel across your shoulder. The familiar weight settles comfortably against your side. It feels reassuring. Perhaps because knowledge weighs surprisingly little compared to responsibility. Stepping outside, cool dew dampens your boots. The narrow dirt path winds between cottages built from timber frames, packed with woven branches and clay. Gardens overflow with onions, cabbage, beans, and medicinal plants growing beside ordinary vegetables. Life here depends upon seasons behaving themselves. Some years they do. Some years they absolutely refuse. A gentle breeze carries the scent of damp earth mixed with wildflowers blooming beside nearby fields. For one peaceful moment, everything feels calm. Birds chatter overhead. Bees drift lazily among blossoms. The morning sun paints the village with warm golden light. It almost convinces you this will be an easy day. Almost. Then someone waves frantically from across the square. An elderly woman walks toward you much faster than her knees probably appreciate. She smiles with visible relief. "There you are," she says. Those 4 simple words rarely mean your schedule remains empty. You smile back anyway. Because in this village, hope often arrives wearing ordinary clothes and carrying nothing more magical than patience, kindness, and a leather satchel filled with herbs. Your day has officially begun, and the village is already stops waiting. A few steps away, taking a slow breath before speaking. "There you are, doctor." The title still feels slightly too grand for what you actually do. You own no university diploma, no polished laboratory, no gleaming hospital. Only years of observation, practical experience, and enough herbal knowledge to keep hope alive in a village that has few other choices. She lowers her voice. "My grandson has another fever." Of course he does. Children in the Middle Ages seem almost professionally committed to catching every illness imaginable. You nod gently. "I'll come." There is no appointment book, no waiting room, no receptionist reminding patients to arrive 15 minutes early. Your work simply follows whoever needs help first. The old woman leads you through winding dirt paths between cottages. Morning sunlight now stretches across vegetable gardens where cabbage leaves sparkle with dew. A pair of geese march proudly across the lane as though they personally own the village. Nobody argues with them. Experience has taught everyone that geese possess confidence entirely unmatched by creatures many times their size. The cottage you enter is small. Smoke hangs lightly beneath the roof beams. A mother rocks a young boy wrapped beneath several wool blankets. His cheeks glow pink with fever. His breathing sounds heavy. You kneel beside him. Your hand rests lightly against his forehead. Hot. Far hotter than you would like. The mother watches every movement you make, not because she expects miracles, because she hopes for reassurance. Sometimes reassurance is almost as valuable as medicine itself. You open your satchel. One by one, you remove familiar bundles tied with string. Chamomile, willow bark, sage. Each plant carries generations of belief behind it. Some genuinely help. Others work mostly because people believe they should. In this century, separating one from the other remains nearly impossible. You ask the boy a few gentle questions. His throat hurts. His stomach feels strange. He barely remembers yesterday. You mix crushed willow bark into warm water with a spoonful of honey. It will not cure everything, but it may ease his discomfort. That alone matters. The family thanks you, as though you have already saved his life. You smile modestly. Medicine here is built as much upon trust as knowledge. Leaving the cottage, the fresh morning air feels wonderfully clean after the smoky interior. The village continues waking around you. A butcher sharpens knives outside his workshop. 2 monks walk quietly along the road, their robes brushing against damp grass. Children laugh somewhere behind a fence. Life continues. Illness never completely stops it. Your next destination is not another patient. It is the edge of the nearby forest, because every village doctor understands one uncomfortable truth. Your medicine cabinet grows from the earth itself. If you fail to gather herbs before the seasons change, winter becomes far more dangerous. The forest welcomes you with cool shade. Birdsong echoes through tall oak trees. Sunlight filters between leaves like golden ribbons. You move slowly. Not every green plant is a friend. Some heal, some poison. Many look frustratingly similar. Years of careful practice allow your eyes to notice tiny differences. The shape of a leaf, the smell released when crushed, the color beneath the stem. Nature rarely labels anything conveniently. You kneel beside a cluster of yarrow. Its delicate white flowers sway gently in the breeze. You carefully cut several stems with your small knife. Yarrow has earned a respected place in your satchel. People believe it helps stop bleeding and encourages wounds to heal. Whether by nature or careful cleaning, many patients truly recover after its use. Nearby grows plantain. Not the banana, a humble leafy plant hiding close to the ground. Its broad leaves often become soothing poultices placed over cuts, insect bites, and sore skin. Simple, common, remarkably useful. Further ahead you find chamomile blooming beneath patches of sunlight. Tiny white petals surround bright yellow centers. You gather them carefully. Their gentle fragrance almost makes the forest feel peaceful enough for a leisurely afternoon walk. Almost. Then you hear rustling. Your heart pauses. A deer steps quietly through the trees. It studies you for a moment before disappearing back into the woods. You exhale softly. For one amusing second, your imagination had already promoted that innocent sound into a hungry wolf. Fortunately, today's forest prefers calm over drama. Your leather pouch slowly grows heavier. Rosemary, sage, thyme, mint. Each herb carries its own purpose. Some freshen stale rooms, some flavor food, some comfort aching stomachs. Some simply make frightened people feel they are receiving proper care. You return toward the village before midday. The sun now sits much higher above the fields. Farmers wipe sweat from their brows. Oxen pull heavy wooden plows across stubborn earth. Harvest depends almost entirely upon weather behaving itself. Sadly, weather has never been especially cooperative. As you walk, villagers greet you warmly. Everyone seems eager to exchange a smile or brief conversation. Being the doctor means becoming part healer, part counselor, part listener. Many worries arrive disguised as illness. A lonely widow complains of headaches. A tired farmer insists his back has betrayed him forever. An anxious mother fears every cough. Sometimes your greatest medicine is simply patience. Back inside your cottage, bunches of fresh herbs are hung upside down from ceiling beams. Drying them correctly takes time. Too much moisture invites mold. Too much heat steals their fragrance. Every bundle represents preparation for colder months still waiting beyond summer. You crush several fresh leaves using your stone mortar. The rich scent fills the room. Earthy, sweet, sharp. The fragrance clings to your hands. If modern visitors entered your home, they might mistake it for a tiny herbal shop. To you, it simply smells like responsibility. Outside, another knock sounds against your wooden door. You smile quietly. The day is only beginning, and someone else already needs the village. 3 slow taps against old oak. Not urgent, not panicked, simply patient. You cross the room and pull open the heavy wooden door. Standing outside is Thomas, one of the village farmers. He removes his worn wool cap before speaking. "Morning, doctor." His smile is polite, but his eyes tell a different story. Pain has a habit of reaching the eyes long before words describe it. You invite him inside. The familiar smell of dried herbs wraps around him as he sits carefully on a wooden stool. Even sitting seems uncomfortable. "You've hurt yourself," you say. Thomas nods. "My shoulder." He rolls back the sleeve of his rough linen shirt. A large purple bruise spreads from his shoulder down toward his upper arm. Yesterday he had been lifting sacks of grain onto a wooden cart. One slipped. The full weight landed against him. Today every movement feels like punishment. You gently examine the injury. Your fingers move slowly, searching for broken bones. Thomas winces. "There," he whispers. You stop immediately. The joint still seems in place. Nothing appears obviously fractured. That is encouraging. In medieval medicine, encouraging news is always worth appreciating. You heat a small cloth near the fire. Warmth often eases sore muscles. At least that is what generations before you have believed. Some treatments survive because they truly help. Others survive because nobody has discovered anything better. You grind fresh comfrey leaves into a soft paste. The green mixture releases an earthy fragrance. Carefully, you spread it across the bruised shoulder before wrapping the area with clean linen. Thomas watches every movement. Will I work tomorrow? There is the real question, not whether it hurts, whether life allows him time to recover. A medieval farmer cannot simply take 2 weeks off. The crops continue growing whether his shoulder agrees or not. You answer honestly, rest today if you can. He laughs, not because it is funny, because both of you know that rest is a luxury rarely available. If I rest, he says quietly, the weeds won't. You smile sympathetically. Sometimes medicine loses its argument against survival. Before leaving, Thomas places 2 eggs on your table. Your payment, no coins, no written receipt, only whatever families can spare. Yesterday, someone paid with cheese. Last week, a fisherman offered smoked trout. During winter, payment sometimes arrives as firewood. Healing has many currencies. After Thomas leaves, you write nothing down. There are no patient files. Instead, memory becomes your record book. You quietly repeat his condition in your mind. Bruised shoulder, no broken bone. Warm compress. Comfrey, return if swelling worsens. That mental habit keeps countless patients from being forgotten. Outside, clouds begin gathering overhead. The bright blue morning slowly softens into pale gray. A cool breeze carries the smell of rain. Weather changes quickly here, almost as quickly as people's health. You decide to visit another nearby cottage before the storm arrives. An old shepherd has complained of aching knees for nearly every season of his life. You suspect age rather than mystery. Still, listening remains part of your work. The shepherd greets you warmly. His faithful sheepdog sleeps beside the fireplace without even opening one eye. Clearly, the dog has already decided you are a regular visitor. The old man stretches his legs with visible effort. My knees predict rain better than church bells. You chuckle. He may not be entirely wrong. Many elderly villagers believe damp weather awakens old injuries. Even centuries later, plenty of people still say much the same. You gently massage fragrant rosemary oil into the stiff joints. The shepherd sighs with relief. Whether the warmth, the herbs, or simply human touch eases his pain hardly matters at this moment. Comfort itself becomes medicine. As you prepare to leave, thunder rumbles faintly across distant hills. Large raindrops begin striking the cottage roof. The storm arrives without ceremony. You pull your wool cloak tightly around yourself before stepping outside. Mud immediately claims your boots. The village transforms within minutes. Children disappear indoors. Smoke thickens above cottages. Farm animals crowd beneath simple shelters. Rain drums steadily across wooden rooftops. Your cloak grows heavier with every step. There are no waterproof jackets, no umbrellas waiting conveniently by the door. Only wool. Lots and lots of wool. You laugh quietly to yourself. The Middle Ages have many admirable qualities. Staying dry is not one of them. Halfway home, you notice movement beside the road. A young apprentice carpenter struggles to lift a fallen beam. You hurry over. Together you raise the heavy timber. He thanks you breathlessly. A shallow cut runs across his palm, nothing serious. Still, cuts deserve attention, especially in an age long before antibiotics. You wash the wound with clean water carried in your flask. Then you spread a little honey across the cut. Its sticky sweetness may help protect the wound from dirt. Finally, you wrap the hand with clean linen. The carpenter flexes his fingers. It already feels better. Perhaps it does. Perhaps reassurance works alongside the bandage. Either way, he smiles, and that smile carries him back to work with renewed confidence. By late afternoon, the rain finally weakens. Tiny streams flow beside muddy roads. Fresh air carries the rich scent of wet earth. The village seems quieter now. Only distant sheep and dripping rooftops break the silence. You return home soaked, tired, and hungry. Your boots leave muddy footprints across the wooden floor. You remove your damp cloak and hang it beside the fireplace. Steam slowly rises as the wool begins drying. A small pot of vegetable stew waits above the fire. Simple ingredients: carrots, onions, barley. A little cabbage, nothing extravagant. Everything earned. You eat slowly while staring at the dancing flames. Today brought fever, bruises, old age, rain, a small cut. None were dramatic, yet everyone reminded you that survival here depends upon countless ordinary acts of care. Tomorrow will almost certainly bring new patients, new worries, new herbs, new hope. The fire crackles softly. Outside, another faint knock echoes through the evening rain. Someone else has come searching for the village. Lingers for a moment before the door slowly opens. A young mother steps inside, her cloak still damp from the rain. She holds the hand of a little girl, perhaps 6 years old, whose nose is red from endless sneezing. The child gives you a shy smile before immediately coughing into her sleeve. Not a violent cough, just the kind that tells you another village cold has begun making its rounds. You gently close the door behind them. The fire crackles warmly. Outside, rain continues tapping softly against the roof, creating a peaceful rhythm that almost hides the little girl's quiet sniffles. She's been coughing since yesterday, the mother says, and she wouldn't eat breakfast. The child quickly protests. I ate half. You smile. Half a breakfast is still better than no breakfast at all. Children remain children in every century. You kneel until your eyes meet hers. What is your name? Anna. And what hurts the most? My throat. She answers honestly without fear. You admire that. Adults often hide pain. Children rarely do. You ask her to open her mouth. There are no electric lights, no disposable tongue depressors. Only candlelight and careful observation. Her throat looks irritated. Her breathing remains steady. That is encouraging. You gently feel the sides of her neck. The swollen glands tell you her body is already working hard against the illness. You prepare a warm herbal drink using chamomile and a spoonful of honey. The sweet taste earns immediate approval from Anna. Medicine that children willingly drink feels almost miraculous. Her mother laughs softly. She usually hates medicine, then perhaps she only dislikes the taste. For a brief moment, the worry inside the room grows lighter. Sometimes laughter heals something no herb can reach. You remind the mother to keep Anna warm, encourage her to drink plenty of water whenever possible, and allow her body time to recover. Simple advice, yet often the most valuable. As they leave, Anna waves happily. Thank you, doctor. Those 3 words stay with you long after the door closes. Outside, the rain finally begins to fade. The clouds slowly drift apart, revealing a pale evening sky. The village smells wonderfully fresh. Wet earth, wood smoke, fresh bread cooling inside the bakery. Life settles into a quieter rhythm. You decide to take a slow walk through the village before darkness fully arrives. Oil lamps begin glowing behind cottage windows. Families gather around evening meals. The sound of quiet conversations drifts into the cool air. Somewhere nearby, someone plays a simple wooden flute. The melody floats gently through the streets. There are no loud engines. No bright electric signs, only the peaceful sounds of ordinary life. As you pass the village well, several women fill buckets while exchanging the day's news. One mentions an elderly neighbor recovering after your visit. Another thanks you for helping her husband during harvest season. You nod politely. Compliments never feel entirely comfortable. Healing is rarely the work of one person. Nature, luck, patience, and time usually deserve equal credit. Near the edge of the village, a group of children gathers around an old storyteller. They sit quietly beneath a great oak tree while he speaks of dragons, wandering kings, hidden treasures, and mysterious forests. The youngest children stare with enormous eyes. The older ones pretend they no longer believe such tales. Secretly, they probably still do. You smile and continue walking. The air grows cooler as the sun sinks lower behind distant hills. Golden light slowly changes into soft shades of orange and purple. For a few peaceful minutes, the entire village seems wrapped inside a painting. Your feet eventually carry you toward the small herb garden beside your cottage. Rows of mint, sage, rosemary, thyme, and lavender sway gently in the evening breeze. You inspect each plant carefully. Healthy leaves today become medicine tomorrow. A few weeds have appeared after the rain. You remove them one by one. Gardening, you discover, demands almost as much patience as medicine itself. While working, you hear familiar footsteps. It is the village baker. He carries a fresh loaf of bread wrapped in clean cloth. No illness, he says with a grin. Only thanks. You accept the gift with genuine appreciation. The smell of freshly baked bread fills the cool evening air. Warm, comforting, simple. The baker refuses any payment. You've helped my family enough. Moments like this remind you that kindness often travels quietly through small communities. No announcements, no applause, just ordinary people helping one another. Darkness gradually settles across the countryside. Stars begin appearing one by one above the village. Without city lights, the night sky looks astonishing. Thousands of tiny stars stretch across the heavens. The Milky Way shines like a pale river flowing overhead. You pause for a moment simply to admire it. Few people in your own time ever experience skies this dark. Back inside your cottage, you light another candle. Its small flame dances gently beside shelves of drying herbs. You sort fresh chamomile blossoms gathered earlier in the day. Each flower must dry properly before winter. Preparation never truly ends. There is always another season approaching. Another illness waiting. Another patient hoping tomorrow brings better news. You carefully clean your small knife. Wash the mortar and pestle and replace each herb in its proper place. Organization matters. When someone arrives in the middle of the night, every second counts. Finally, you settle into your wooden chair beside the fireplace. The room grows wonderfully quiet. Only burning wood and distant crickets accompany the silence. You close your eyes for a single peaceful breath. Then, a bell begins ringing outside. Not the slow evening church bell. This one rings quickly, urgently, again and again. Somewhere in the darkness, another family is calling for the village doctor. Not loudly enough to frighten the entire village, but urgently enough that you know someone cannot wait until sunrise. You rise from your chair without hesitation. The leather satchel is already packed. Clean linen, honey, herbal poultices, needles, thread, a small iron knife, a bundle of yarrow. Simple tools, yet tonight they will once again become someone's greatest hope. You throw your heavy wool cloak across your shoulders and step into the cool night. The rain has stopped. Tiny drops still cling to rooftops, sparkling beneath the moonlight. The village paths glisten with wet mud. A teenage boy waits outside, breathing hard. "It's my father," he says. The wagon overturned. You nod. Lead the way. Without another word, both of you hurry through the sleeping village. Only a few cottage windows still glow with candlelight. Most families have already drifted to sleep. A dog barks somewhere in the darkness before deciding you are not worth chasing. The boy moves quickly despite the slippery road. You follow carefully. The accident happened near the edge of the fields. A broken wooden wagon rests on its side. Scattered sacks of grain lie across the muddy ground. Several worried neighbors hold lanterns, their golden light dancing in the night air. The injured farmer lies against a folded blanket. He is awake. That is a good sign. His breathing is steady. An even better one. His left leg, however, tells a different story. It rests at an awkward angle. You kneel beside him. The villagers step back, allowing you room to work. No one speaks, only the distant chirping of crickets and the soft rustle of wind through tall grass accompany the moment. You gently examine the injured leg. The farmer clenches his jaw, but says nothing. His strength impresses you. You suspect a broken bone. There is little you can truly do beyond keeping the leg still and preventing further harm. Modern hospitals exist only in dreams centuries away. Tonight, knowledge means using the simplest methods available. You ask two strong neighbors to gather straight wooden branches. Another tears clean strips from an old linen cloth. Within minutes, they return. You carefully position the branches along each side of the injured leg. Working slowly, you bind them firmly with the linen. The splint is simple, but it may help keep the bone from shifting during the journey home. The farmer finally exhales. It hurts less. Relief softens every face surrounding you. Sometimes even small improvements feel enormous. Together, the villagers lift him onto a sturdy wooden door removed from a nearby shed. The door becomes an improvised stretcher. Step by careful step, they carry him toward his cottage. The entire village seems to move together. No one asks whether helping is their responsibility. It simply is. Community is one of the strongest medicines available in this century. Inside the farmer's cottage, the fireplace burns warmly. His wife quickly prepares blankets. Children watch silently from the corner of the room. Fear makes even the youngest unusually quiet. You explain as gently as possible. He must stay off the leg. The farmer laughs weakly. I suppose the fields will survive without me for a while. His wife gives him a look suggesting that he has absolutely no choice. You smile. Even difficult moments sometimes leave room for gentle humor. Before leaving, you prepare willow bark tea to help ease the pain. It is not magic, but easing suffering matters, even when cures remain beyond reach. Outside, the moon now hangs high above the fields. Mist begins creeping across the countryside. The village feels almost dreamlike beneath silver light. Your journey home is interrupted by another familiar voice. The blacksmith waves from his workshop. A glowing forge still burns inside. I've something for you. He places a newly sharpened iron knife into your hand. The old one was wearing thin. You admire the craftsmanship. The blade catches the firelight beautifully. You've already paid me. He shrugs. You stitched my son's arm last spring. Kindness continues finding its way back to you in unexpected forms. You thank him sincerely before continuing through the quiet streets. Back inside your cottage, you place the new knife beside your other tools. Everything has its place. Everything may become necessary before another sunrise. The fire has nearly burned low. You add another log. Orange flames leap upward, filling the room with comforting warmth. You remove your muddy boots. Your shoulders ache. Your hands smell faintly of herbs, smoke, damp earth, and fresh-cut wood. It has been a long day. You pour yourself a cup of warm herbal tea. Steam curls gently upward. Outside, an owl calls from somewhere beyond the village. The sound drifts through the still night. You sit quietly, reflecting on everything the day has brought. A feverish child, an injured shoulder, an elderly shepherd, a frightened family, a broken leg. None of these people expected perfect medicine. They expected someone to come, someone willing to help, someone who would not leave them to face hardship alone. Perhaps that is the true meaning of being the village doctor, not knowing every answer, simply refusing to abandon those who need you. The candle beside your chair burns lower. Its small flame flickers as a cool breeze slips beneath the wooden door. For the first time today, complete silence settles over the cottage. You close your eyes, only for a moment. Tomorrow's work will arrive soon enough. Somewhere beyond the quiet village, another sunrise is already making its slow journey toward quietly. Long before the village fully awakens, a pale silver light slips through the narrow cracks in your wooden shutters. The fire has burned down to glowing embers. The cottage feels cool again, carrying the familiar scents of dried herbs, smoke, and damp wood. For a few peaceful moments, you simply listen. Somewhere outside, a rooster announces another day with complete confidence. A cow answers with a low, patient moo. Farther away, the church bell rings once. Another ordinary day has begun. Or at least, everyone hopes it will be ordinary. You stir the embers back into life, adding a fresh log to the fireplace. Soon warm orange flames dance once more across the stone hearth. A clay kettle begins heating. Breakfast remains simple. Dark bread, goat cheese, a handful of dried berries left from last autumn, nothing extravagant. Yet every meal reminds you how closely survival depends upon successful harvests. One poor season can echo through an entire year. While eating, you glance toward the wooden shelf where your herbs hang drying. Some bundles are nearly ready, others still hold too much moisture. You gently turn them by hand. Every leaf matters. A spoiled bundle in autumn may become a missing medicine in winter. Just as you finish your tea, someone knocks softly. This time, there is no panic, no hurried footsteps, only quiet patience. You open the door. Standing outside is Father Aldwin, the village priest. His gray beard moves gently in the morning breeze. He smiles kindly. Good morning, doctor. And to you, Father. He holds a small woven basket, fresh eggs, a loaf of dark bread, a handful of apples. Our garden has been generous. You thank him warmly and invite him inside. The priest sits beside the fireplace, warming his hands. For several moments, neither of you speaks. Silence feels comfortable. Not every friendship requires constant conversation. Eventually, he says quietly, I visited old Margaret yesterday. You recognize the name immediately. The widow whose cough has slowly worsened over many weeks. How was she? Weak. The single word carries enough weight. You nod slowly. Some illnesses improve. Others simply continue their quiet journey. In this century, there are limits no amount of herbs can cross. Father Aldwin studies the hanging bundles of rosemary and sage. You heal the body. He smiles gently. I mostly calm frightened hearts. You chuckle. I suspect frightened hearts keep us both busy. The priest laughs. They certainly do. The two of you often visit the same people. Sometimes families request both medicine and prayer, not because they see them as opposites, but because hope comes in many forms. After sharing breakfast, you decide to visit Margaret together. The walk across the village is peaceful. Morning sunlight glows upon damp rooftops left shining from last night's rain. Children chase each other through narrow lanes. A baker carries warm loaves toward his shop. Life continues with quiet determination. Margaret's cottage stands near the edge of the village. Wildflowers bloom beside its weathered fence. The old woman greets both of you with a tired smile. Her face appears thinner than only a month ago. She coughs gently into a cloth. You examine her carefully. Her breathing has become shallower. The cough lingers deep inside her chest. You prepare a warm herbal infusion using thyme and honey. It may soothe her throat. It may ease her breathing. It cannot promise recovery. The priest quietly sits beside her chair. He speaks softly while holding her trembling hand. No dramatic speeches, no grand ceremonies. Only calm words spoken with genuine kindness. Margaret closes her eyes. For the first time since you arrived, her shoulders seem to relax. Watching them together reminds you that healing wears many faces. Sometimes it is medicine. Sometimes conversation. Sometimes simply refusing to let someone feel alone. Before leaving, you place fresh herbs beside her fireplace. Enough for several days. She thanks you with tears quietly forming in her eyes. Outside, Father Aldwin walks beside you without speaking. Finally, he says, You know, yes? You cannot save everyone. The sentence hangs gently between you. You have known this truth for a long time. Hearing it aloud never makes it easier. I know. He nods. But showing up still matters. Those simple words stay with you. Perhaps that is why people trust both doctor and priest. Not because either can promise miracles. Because both arrive when needed. As midday approaches, the village square grows busier. Traveling merchants have arrived with colorful wagons. Villagers gather eagerly around displays of cloth, pottery, wooden toys, candles, spices, and curious little bottles claiming remarkable healing powers. One merchant enthusiastically waves a tiny glass vial. A miracle tonic, he announces, cures fever, headaches, sore backs, unhappy chickens, and bad luck. You raise an eyebrow. Quite an impressive medicine, especially for the chickens. Several villagers laugh quietly. Even in the Middle Ages, people recognize an exaggerated sales pitch. The merchant notices your leather satchel. Doctor, he calls cheerfully. Surely you'd like to purchase the finest medicine in all the kingdom? You smile politely. I think I'll keep trusting my herbs. The crowd laughs. The merchant laughs too. He knows entertainment often sells as well as products. You continue through the market, purchasing a little beeswax for making healing salves. Nearby, a potter trades several small clay jars in exchange for dried mint. Barter remains the language of everyday life. Coins exist. Trust matters more. The afternoon sun climbs steadily overhead. Children run through the square, carrying wooden toy swords. A dog naps beneath a wagon. Fresh bread, herbs, horses, smoke, flowers, and rain-soaked earth blend into the unmistakable scent of village life. You pause for a moment. The scene feels wonderfully ordinary, and perhaps that is exactly what makes it beautiful. Because in this century, peaceful afternoons are gifts never taken. Slowly begins to quiet. Merchants continue calling out cheerful bargains, but many villagers have already finished their trading and returned to their daily work. You adjust the leather satchel resting comfortably against your shoulder. The afternoon has been peaceful. Peaceful days, however, rarely remain peaceful for long. A horse appears at the far end of the square. Its rider wears a dark green cloak embroidered with the crest of the local lord. The animal slows beside you. The messenger removes his hood. The lord requests your presence, not asks. Requests. In medieval language, there is often very little difference. You nod politely. Is someone injured? The steward. That answers enough. The steward manages nearly everything inside the manor. If he cannot work, the estate itself begins to stumble. You return home only long enough to gather a few additional supplies. Fresh linen. Extra honey. Several clay jars of herbal salve. Your newest iron knife. Then you begin the journey toward the manor. The road climbs gently through rolling farmland. Golden wheat sways in the afternoon breeze like waves upon a quiet sea. Farmers pause briefly to watch you pass. Some raise a hand in greeting. Others simply smile. Beyond the fields, the manor slowly comes into view. Unlike the humble cottages of the village, the lord's residence stands proudly upon a small hill. A sturdy wooden palisade surrounds the estate. Stone buildings rise behind it. A watchtower overlooks the countryside. Compared to the village, it almost feels like another world. A guard opens the heavy wooden gate. You've arrived. Inside, servants move quickly across the courtyard carrying baskets, buckets, and firewood. Stable boys brush horses. Blacksmiths repair farm tools. Cooks hurry toward the kitchens, balancing large pots. The manor resembles a tiny village of its own. A servant leads you into the great hall. Sunlight pours through narrow windows high above polished wooden tables. Colorful woven tapestries decorate the walls. A massive stone fireplace dominates one end of the room. The warmth feels welcoming despite the building's size. The steward sits nearby with one foot resting awkwardly upon a stool. His face tightens as you approach. I slipped on the stairs. He sounds slightly embarrassed. Even responsible men occasionally lose arguments with gravity. You kneel beside the injured ankle. The swelling has already begun. Fortunately, nothing appears broken. The joint simply needs time. Something that busy people almost never enjoy hearing. You prepare a cool herbal compress using crushed comfrey and clean linen. The steward watches carefully. How long before I can walk properly? A few days. His shoulders sink. The harvest accounts will still exist in a few days. He sighs. I suppose they will. Sometimes patients need permission to rest more than they need medicine. You carefully wrap the ankle. The swelling should remain controlled if he keeps weight off it. Nearby, the Lord himself enters quietly. He is older than you expected. Gray touches his beard. His expression appears calm rather than proud. You've helped him? I believe so. The Lord nods gratefully. You've helped our village many times. The words surprise you. Nobles and villagers often live very different lives, yet illness ignores wealth remarkably well. The Lord gestures toward a long dining table. You'll stay for supper. Refusing would seem discourteous, so you accept. Servants soon bring warm vegetable stew, roasted chicken, coarse bread, soft cheese, and fresh apples. Far richer than your usual meals. Even so, the conversation remains simple. The Lord asks about the village, the recent harvest, the health of elderly neighbors, the condition of the wells. Good rulers, you quietly realize, often ask practical questions. Before leaving, the Lord presents you with a small wooden chest. Inside rests a neatly folded length of fine linen. For bandages, you bow respectfully. Such cloth will help many families in the months ahead. As evening approaches, you begin the walk home. The road glows golden beneath the setting sun. Birds circle lazily above harvested fields. Everything feels wonderfully peaceful. Halfway down the hill, you notice smoke rising from a distant charcoal burner, deep within the forest. Thin gray ribbons twist gently into the evening sky. Life continues everywhere. Each person performing different work, each depending upon someone else. A shepherd relies upon the blacksmith. The blacksmith depends upon the charcoal burner. The baker needs the farmer. The farmer sometimes needs the doctor. Every life connects quietly with another. The thought accompanies you all the way back toward the village. Children wave as you enter through the familiar dirt road. Several women return from the well balancing heavy wooden buckets. A pair of elderly men argue cheerfully over whose vegetables grew larger this season. Neither appears willing to surrender the debate. You smile. Some discussions never truly end. The smell of evening meals drifts from open cottage windows. Fresh bread, onion soup, roasted turnips, wood smoke. It is the unmistakable scent of home. Inside your cottage, you carefully place the fine linen into a wooden chest reserved for medical supplies. It will become countless bandages before winter arrives. A generous gift today may save lives months from now. You light a fresh candle. Its soft glow spreads across shelves filled with herbs, clay jars, and familiar tools. Outside, crickets begin singing beneath the darkening sky. The village settles into another peaceful evening. You finally sit beside the fire. Your legs ache from the long walk. Your shoulders feel pleasantly tired. Not every day ends with dramatic rescues. Sometimes success simply means helping someone heal before tomorrow. The flames dance quietly before you. Somewhere outside, hoofbeats echo faintly along the distant road. Another traveler is approaching the village. And tomorrow, another story will surely grow steadily louder, not rushed, not desperate, simply steady, confident, and unfamiliar. Very few strangers visit your village without a reason. You rise from your chair and step outside. The evening air feels cool against your face. Stars continue appearing overhead, while the last traces of sunset fade beyond the western hills. The traveler finally reaches your cottage. His horse is dusty from a long journey. So are his boots. His cloak carries the faded colors of another lord's estate, many miles away. He slides carefully from the saddle. "You are the village doctor?" "I am." He offers a respectful nod. "My wife is expecting our first child." You wait quietly. She's due within the month. His expression reveals the real reason for his visit. "I've never seen a birth before." Neither confidence nor courage completely survives. When someone you love faces danger, you invite him inside. The fire still burns warmly. He accepts a cup of herbal tea with grateful hands. "My mother said I should speak with someone experienced." You smile gently. "In that case, your mother gave good advice." He relaxes slightly. For the next hour, the two of you speak quietly. You explain what usually happens during childbirth, how every birth follows its own path, how calm voices often help frighten mothers far more than shouting, how clean cloths, warm water, patience, and steady hands matter greatly. He listens carefully, occasionally asking simple questions. "Will she be in pain?" "Yes." "Will I know what to do?" "Probably not." His face falls. You quickly continue. "But you'll learn quickly." That earns a nervous laugh. Sometimes honesty comforts people more than false promises. You pack several extra bundles of clean linen and dried herbs for him to carry home. He offers payment. You accept only enough to replace the supplies. The rest, you quietly refuse. Soon he disappears into the moonlit countryside, his horse carrying him back toward his waiting family. You stand outside watching until both rider and horse disappear beyond the hills. Bringing new life into the world remains one of the greatest challenges faced by every medieval village, and one of its greatest joys. The following morning begins unusually warm. Sunlight arrives early. Not a cloud interrupts the bright blue sky. After feeding the small chickens scratching happily beside your cottage, you decide to inspect the village well. Clean water means healthier people. at least healthier than they might otherwise be. Several villagers have already gathered there. Wooden buckets rise slowly from deep underground. Children laugh, while splashing tiny puddles. Their mothers immediately remind them not to waste water. One elderly man complains that the rope feels rougher every year. You suspect the rope is exactly the same. His hands simply remember youth differently. You lower the bucket yourself. The water appears clear, cool, fresh. You smile with quiet satisfaction. Simple things often protect entire communities. Nearby, a young woman approaches carrying a basket overflowing with fresh vegetables. Doctor. She hesitates. I've been feeling tired. You ask a few gentle questions. She has worked long hours gathering crops. She has slept poorly. She rarely rests. The answer arrives before the examination even begins. You need more sleep. She blinks. That's all? That may be the hardest medicine to find. She laughs. So even doctors prescribe naps? Whenever possible. She leaves smiling. Whether she actually rests remains another matter entirely. By late morning, you return to your herb garden. Summer growth has been generous. Lavender flowers sway gently in the breeze. Bees move patiently from blossom to blossom. Mint spreads enthusiastically wherever it pleases. You trim several healthy stems before they completely conquer the garden. Nature possesses wonderful healing power. It also possesses absolutely no respect for garden boundaries. As you continue working, a familiar voice calls your name. It is Thomas, the farmer whose bruised shoulder you treated several days ago. He rotates his arm carefully. Look, the movement appears smoother now. Still a little stiff. Far better than before. You listened. I actually rested. He sounds almost surprised by his own decision. And? My wife insisted. You both laugh. Perhaps the true physician deserves half the credit. He thanks you sincerely before returning to the fields. Watching him walk away reminds you that recovery often happens slowly, quietly, almost invisibly. Healing rarely announces itself. It simply arrives one ordinary day when something no longer hurts quite as much. The afternoon grows hotter. Most villagers retreat briefly into the shade. You do the same. Inside your cottage, cool stone walls keep the worst of the heat outside. You organize fresh herbs gathered that morning, each bundle tied neatly with linen thread. Each clay jar carefully labeled using tiny charcoal markings. Not elegant. Practical. A doctor who cannot quickly find the right herb wastes precious time. As the hottest part of the day passes, distant laughter echoes through the village. Children have discovered a shallow stream beyond the fields. You stroll toward the sound. Several boys balance upon fallen logs, pretending they are fearless knights crossing dangerous bridges. One promptly falls into the water. His dramatic defeat lasts approximately 2 seconds before everyone begins laughing, including him. Childhood, thankfully, changes very little across the centuries. You sit beneath a willow tree, watching the gentle stream flow past. Dragonflies skim the surface. Tiny fish dart between smooth stones. The cool breeze carries away the afternoon heat. For the first time in many days, no one appears injured. No one calls for help. No urgent footsteps race toward your cottage. Only birdsong, flowing water, and happy laughter fill the air. You quietly appreciate the rare gift, because experience has already taught you something important. Peaceful moments never last forever. That is exactly why they deserve to be noticed while they are here.